Hi, I'm Steve Metcalf,
And I'm Carol Metcalf.
and this video is brought to you by Bimeda, makers of Polyglycan and Equimax. And we're here to talk about hackamores. This is a hackamore. This is a sickness. It is one of my weaknesses in life, these hackamores. I love them dearly, love to ride in them. A hackamore is a braided, as you can see, it can be rawhide, it can be latigo, it can be kangaroo hide, but it is a braided piece of equipment. And in our association, it does have to be braided. Unlike this, which I call a rag, it is a cotton rope with a braided rawhide nose piece. And this is what we start all of our young horses in. We introduce this to them when we're introducing them to the hackamore. This piece of equipment mainly works off the nose because of the rawhide, and the cotton rope doesn't really affect the jaw. And we use this to do our groundwork, and we ride them in it for a while until they can go left and right and back up and turn a little bit and can lope around, and that we call a rag.
So the hackamore is used for many different disciplines. It's shown in the hackamore and the pleasure, Western riding. A lot of times they'll show in the trail. The pleasure in some of those applications of the hackamore are a little different than the reining or the cow horse, because in the reining and the cow horse we are going fast, and you have to have a little more control of their nose and their rib cage, and everything has to connect. Versus in the pleasure, a lot of times they're wearing it on their head, but it's a whole different application.
Yeah, you know, in the pleasure, you've got one rail. Everybody likes to stay on the rail, so you have one guide down the rail. And even my pleasure horse buddies, they still have pride and they like a good hackamore. So even if it's the pleasure or anything else, and when you play on the level that we play with trail horse guys and pleasure horse guys and Western riding guys and all phases of the industry, they still like quality. And they're professional, so they'll come here, they'll go see somebody else that they feel is knowledgeable to get information about it, because they want quality. And quality a lot of times makes for a better horse. So what's important is when you go to buy a hackamore, buy one that fits your horse. I have hackamores here that are much longer, that I used when I was much younger, because our horses didn't have the refined heads that we have today. You have to maybe get rid of your old 13-inch hackamore and buy a 10.5 to 11 tops that'll fit your horse. And when you measure a hackamore to get that 10.5, tops 11, you measure from the inside of the nose to the inside of the heel knot. Usually when you buy a hackamore, it won't have a Makati on it, and you can measure right inside at that heel knot, and it should be 10.5, 11 tops for me. Length of nose from here to here. If you have a hackamore and the nose piece is clear down in here and here, it's going to be kind of dead. It's not going to fall off a horse as quick as one that has a shorter nose. And when I say fall off a horse, when you pick up the reins and ask for that horse's nose, and then you release it, because of the proportion of the weight of the heel knot and the length of the nose, it will drop off a horse. Now, you don't want it to drop off to where it would make a horse nervous and be sloppy, but you want it just to drop off smooth. And we're finding in all of our hackamores, when they're really successful hackamores, there's about a 7-inch and shorter nose piece, because there's a real good balance point there where when this hackamore is sitting on that horse's nose and you pick up, it just falls off, just like that. So when you're looking for a hackamore, you're not looking for something where the nose piece is clear down here and here. You want to have that balance point. And you can usually measure this, and if it's 7 inches or a hair over or a hair under, and the heel knot is not huge, it's probably going to have some balance to it. And then you want to check out the flexibility of it. And you want that, I call it having life. I can take that hackamore and bend it, and it just comes back to form in a slow way. And I don't have to be a bodybuilder to bend it.
A lot of the 3-year-olds that we show, if we show in the snaffle bit fraternities with 3-year-olds, we have to show in a smooth snaffle. We progress to the hackamore as a 4-year-old, and some horses have honestly a better nose than they do. They're softer in a hackamore than they are in a smooth snaffle, and vice versa.
For me, because I love the process of the hackamore and where I arrive at the end when they go in the bridle, I start riding my horses in the hackamore after we've started them in the rag and everything, and we have to go to the snaffle and get them prepared in the snaffle. But at some point in time, I'm going to ride that horse in the hackamore for a while to prepare them, because we're always preparing for a year ahead of time. After we have the luxury of showing a horse, and I call it a luxury, being able to show a horse as a 4-year-old in the hackamore and a 5-year-old, the next phase of NRCHA's program is a two-rein. And a two-rein is a small hackamore underneath a bridle. And what that is they're not solid in the bridle. We have a two-rein. And there's as many different sizes and stiffnesses in two-reins as there are hackamores. So we've shown them 4 and 5-year-old year in the hackamore. We got their shoulders up. They're in the hackamore. They know what it means. When I get a horse in the hackamore to where they're really solid, I can take the hackamore away from them. Say they're 5-year-old year, halfway through the year, we're showing in the hackamore. Again, I'm training for the next year. So now, the second half of my year, I'm riding them in a two-rein and a bridle. Because the next year, I'm going to show them in a two-rein and a bridle. And there are 2 ways, and I'm going to have my assistant here, Mrs. Metcalf. Yeah, I'm going to need one in a minute. I'm going to show them the 2 ways. There's 2 ways that I like to hold a two-rein. One of them is the 2 reins on the horse, and I hold it like this. In other words, I cross the reins, and the Makati is crossed like this. Now, you have another set of reins that you have to have on because you've got the bridle on. So here's a pair of Romels, which isn't required in NRCHA. You can only show in Romels. Then I put the bridle reins like that. Now, what this enables me to do is, when I'm going down the fence and I'm starting through a turn, now this is a green bridle horse. He's green in the bridle. That's why we have the 2-rein on him, so that if we need to pull on that 2-rein, we can engage that 2-rein before the bridle, and we can pull that horse and we're not damaging that horse's mouth. The reason this tradition started is keep the integrity of the horse and build a horse that lasts.